For ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Donald.
And we are back to discuss a brand new K-drama. We are talking about season 2 of The Uncanny Counter. It is a K-drama that is available on Netflix here in the States. You heard that correctly. I didn't mess up. We're talking about the second season, even though we did not cover the first season. I'm not sure when that first season dropped. I want to say it was like probably 2021 or so.
Yeah, it's gone.
And I watched it last year, just like on my own. When we were still living in Oregon, I wanted a K-drama to watch that we weren't podcasting, that I could just kind of watch on my own time and binge through. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it so much that I was like, oh, I want to like see other things that some of these people are in. And I'm pulling up the names now because I don't want to get them wrong. And the actress who plays Hana in this is in another K-drama. She's the lead in Business Proposal, which is another K-drama that I watched when the reaction channel Core 4 TV Reacts. I watched it. I'm not really big into like romantic comedies in any style of TV shows. Like I don't like them in Western TV shows, K-dramas. But I gave Business Proposal a chance and I was pleasantly surprised. But I watched it because, like I said, the actress who plays Hana, who apparently debuted, or she was first known as an idol, as a singer in Korea, and transitioned into doing acting, and her name is Kim Se-jung. And I really enjoyed her. So I love this series. Again, loved it so much. I went to see other stuff. I went and looked up other stuff that she was in. Yeom Hae-ran, who plays, what's her name? Mayok. I was right. I was like, I'm just going to call her May from now on. Her real name, the actress name is Yeom Hae-ran. And she is in The Glory, and she plays the shitty aunt in Goblin, and those are both K-dramas that we have covered here on the podcast. She's in this, and so anyway, it was just really enjoyable. And a lot of K-dramas for the most part are like one and done, but there are a few lately. I think a lot of the ones that are adapted from webtoons that are on Netflix tend to have more than one season because the stories are already established and they're pretty long. Like they are not designed to be like one season of a TV show, if that makes sense. The webtoon is just going to be as long as it needs to be. And so you have shows like this, like Sweet Home, like All of Us Are Dead. There's another one I'm drawing a blank on, that are based on webtoons that are pretty long, that will have more than one season. So when they announced that there was going to be a second season of this and that it was, coming up fairly soon, I knew we had to cover it. So I told Donnie while I was in Korea, and I told Kaylee, y'all need to start watching that first season because the second season of Uncanny Counter drops in July. And
you told me to check it out to see if I would like it. Is it your exact words?
Yeah. And yeah, that's right. Because I was like, I'm going to podcast it.
Yeah.
So like, if you guys are not interested, like if you watch some of the first season, you're not interested, then, whatever. But I'm definitely going to, and I've already seen the first season. And oddly enough, I was watching another reaction channel, your boy Rock Lee, react to the first season of Uncanny Counter while I was in Korea. So I was already kind of getting refreshed without having to rewatch the first season. And so Kaylee procrastinated, and she's only seen a few episodes of the first season. And I don't know. She says she likes it, but she'd rather watch it on her own time. So she's not podcasting it with us. But I don't know. I have a feeling that's something she just told herself because she's lazy and she didn't want to like binge and finish it because she's doing 50 other things. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes of the second season. The way this show is broadcast, and I think this is just a thing in Korea, because they did the same thing with Extraordinary Attorney Woo. Because it is also simulcast, like it is being broadcast in Korea at the same time, we can't binge it. Is they didn't release all the episodes at once on Netflix. But what they do is every weekend, every Saturday you get an episode, and every Sunday you get an episode. So where I thought we would be covering it 1 at a time, we're actually covering it 2 at a time. So those are 2 episodes we're going to talk about. If you've not watched the first season, I would suggest that you do so. And then, these podcasts will be here waiting for you. If you've already seen the first season and you're diving into the second season, feel free to join and watch along with us. We're going to be watching live. Like I said, every weekend, we're watching those 2 episodes and then we're recording early in the next week to have the podcast out by midweek. And yeah, so the premise, the show is about these counters. That's what they're called. They are responsible for exorcising like evil spirits out of people and sending them to where they belong and freeing the souls of the people that these evil spirits have killed and captured. And in the first season, one of the counters is killed and they need a replacement. And they are basically people who were in a coma and they're offered like a second chance at life to live again, right? To continue living. They have the spirit. They're connected to like the spirit in this place called Jung, Yung, excuse me, which is like the afterlife almost, like
purgatory.
Yeah, like a space between life and death. And so each counter has like a spiritual counterpart that basically lends it its power. So the each counter is like really strong and really fast. Obviously they need to be because they're fighting, people possessed by strong evil spirits. And for some reason, when you become a counter, your hair just perms for some reason.
Curly hair.
So they all get curly hair. Yeah, and so in the first season, there is a high schooler named So-moon who is not even in a coma, who is chosen. And so throughout the first season, we learned that he actually has a connection to one of the other counters. He's tormented by the death of his parents when he was a little boy. And he spends most of the season, getting used to being a counter, but also trying to get revenge on what happened to his parents. And then, of course, exorcising these evil spirits that have possessed people, like a local politician who is currently trying to run for president. So that was pretty much the first season. And the second season picks up where, he is a full counter now, and they're a bit overworked and they need a new counter. And of course, there's new demons and new bad guys to deal with. So we're going to be talking about those 2 episodes in detail in a second. But first, Donnie, what did you think of these 2 episodes?
They were good. I mean, it jumped right back into where we left off. I like that, like, season 1 established who these guys are. So we didn't have, we can just get it right into it this season.
Yeah.
So I like that it's focusing more on the evil spirits this season. Mm-hmm. So it just seems like it's going to be very challenging, but a lot of fun this season too.
So I had posted about it, and one of our listeners and friends, Cry Havoc DOW on, it's probably like Cry Havoc DOW, but I'm saying DOW anyway, on Twitter. He went and checked it out, and I saw a tweet from him. He's like, I just watched the first episode, and a couple hours later, he's like, I'm on episode 6 or something. And he was saying, and I absolutely agree, that it's very comic booky.
Yes.
The action is very, it's just different than a lot of the other action K-dramas that we've watched, a lot of the Western dramas that we've watched. It is very comic booky, and I love that in this, so far in the second season, these 2 episodes, the action is even better than I remember it. Like I think so far it looks
Oh
better.
no, they're definitely they put more money
Yeah,
like,
the budget.
and then just it's I did this first season had comedy to it, but I feel like this one's got more. It's more of a comedic feel to it this season.
Yeah, they're like it's
So far.
the what I think is very among other things, but one of the elements that I think is very much like a comic book is like that humor while fighting and the
Hmm.
whole the poses and stuff like that. Like, yeah. And if you like that kind of stuff, then you'll love this. But yeah, I'm always impressed with the action, but I thought like you can tell like they had a bigger budget and they were able to do more and it looks really good and it looks cool and the characters are just as lovable as I remember and it's just a fun show. Um and I feel like though this season is going to be a bit darker. I mean, it was already dark, like we were dealing with some dark stuff like the crimes that some of these people committed when they were possessed. Like, we had like abusive dads and we had obviously the murder of his parents and we had a pretty gruesome like torture murder scene last season. But like this season, at least so far in these episodes, one thing we're going to talk about I thought was so fucking disturbing. It was hard to watch the first time and is like even harder like the second time. I was like, wow, this is really, really dark. But it's it's a good show and it's is as good as I remember, even better. All right, so let's talk about what happened in the episodes. And again, we're talking about this assuming that you've already watched it and that you've already seen the first season. So if you haven't and you don't want to get spoiled and this is something you think you might be interested in, I would suggest you just turn this off now and come back later. You can always find it on our Patreon. This podcast will be up for free as well. You can find it on Patreon by searching the tag Uncanny Counter. There was one other thing I was going to say. Ah, 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 ah. Oh, and if you want to send in feedback, if you're going to be watching along with us every week, you can send it to feedback@projectfandom.com. All right, so the shut up, dog. So, like the funniest thing when the season premiere begins, we're right in the thick of it. There is an evil spirit doing some evil spirit shit, and it is a man. He's a school bus driver for like these kindergartners. And the actor is the same actor who played the teacher slash pedophile in The Glory. And so as soon as you saw him, you were like, what?
He can't be around those kids.
I was like, Donnie, he's an actor. And then it turned out he couldn't be around those kids because he was a fucking demon. He's a school bus driver. And he basically just takes these kids on this very dangerous joyride where he's like crashing into cars and
It's
basically
basically Sandra Bullock in Speed.
in Speed, yeah, scaring the shit out of these students, knocked the teacher unconscious, and out. But because he is a demon, he steps foot or he drives through the territory, and then our counters become aware of him. Hana is like, yeah, he stepped foot. We got to go get him, and just like the first season, like they're all in different locations and they're just like running on foot, except for their benefactor. What's his name? Choi, the guy with the twirly mustache who
The sugar daddy.
the sugar daddy of the yes. He's driving a car and they're kind of coordinate. And I really love this opening scene because you get to see like everybody is kind of featured and has like a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and you are introduced to like their powers as like they're trying to rescue these kids. Some construction workers get hurt and you see May like healing one of them before like they continue on. So I like that. Like you got to see
It was a cold open because they after this
yeah,
is
that's
when they
right.
actually put
That's
the
right.
title and all that. So it was kind of just reminding everybody who they are and what they can do.
Right. So the I love how like they basically stop the bus finally. There's the guy, the bus driver, he like takes one of the little girls hostage so he can try to get away. And he stopped when So Moon shows up last. And So Moon is, they refer to it later because he's like, 늦었어 미안해요, which is sorry for being late. And they're like, oh, look at you showing up all late. He must think you're the main character. But that shot of him when he like lands on top of the school bus and it's like
A
a fucking
superhero landing.
superhero landing, but like there's like the sun behind him and it's like almost sunset. It's like golden hour. It was just so freaking cool. It was such a really good shot. Yeah, so that's how we get reacquainted with everybody. And then they did this really cool thing where they have to summon the spirit and then they go up to Jung, right? And when they do that to like visit their spirit like counterparts and stuff, they're asleep. Their bodies are asleep back on Earth. And the CEO is like driving with them, sleeping in the car or whatever. And they use this time to properly introduce their spiritual counterparts, which I feel like they didn't do in the first season.
Right.
Like here, they do a thing where they do a freeze frame and you get to see that Kana is with, I think his name is Yushi, the little boy. And then we know May, her spiritual counterpart, is actually her son who died in the water. It was like a car accident, right? Like they were both in a car accident and he drowned, I think, and she couldn't save him. Um, but Motok isn't there because Motok is a cop again.
Yep.
Yeah, he's back to working, and basically they're solving and catching a lot of criminals because of him.
Right.
And what he can do. Yeah. But they don't know that that's what he can do. So his boss is always like, how is Motok getting all this? And he tells them that he gets hunches when he's on the toilet. So, so yeah, I thought that was cool. Oh, we also learned that Somoon didn't go to college. So he's graduated, but he put off going to college to do this.
Yep.
And that they do need a new counter though, because they are overworked and they are, for some reason, and we find out later why. Well, I guess we can say it now. The spirit that needs a new counter is being very, very picky.
Yeah.
About who he chooses.
And they did the same thing in the first season with Moon's when they got rid of him, they had a tough time
That's
finding,
right.
And then he just came back.
We meet this. It's funny because like you and I knew from like the moment we met this couple, we were like this tragic ass couple. Mm-hmm. I'm pulling up IMDb to make sure. So Jusok, Ma Jusok and his wife Minji, and he's a firefighter. And their backstory is that one, she's pregnant, which Jusok tells Somoon in confidence, and then he quickly tells everybody. And apparently they were like swindled out of some money in like a housing scheme, right?
Right,
They,
which
like,
is the overall seems to be the overall kind of background story of the season.
Right, that there was these businessmen that they swindled a bunch of people out of money, including Jusok and Minji, and I think we later find out that it was like 10 years worth of savings to buy this house, and they lost it, and and so she's pregnant now, and the people behind it, one of them disappeared and the other died. Either he committed suicide or something happened to him. So like it's all in the news now that this guy died. They still don't know where the other guy is. They still don't know where the money is. And then like two guys who were connected to the whole thing, one of them is about to be sentenced for the whole thing.
Well,
and then
yeah.
And then we see that he gets
6
they
months
originally give him like
probation.
they give him 3 years in prison, but then they're like, but
they downgraded it to probation.
Downgraded it to 2 years of probation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So slap on the wrist, basically. The next big thing we see our team do is that they save this kid and his mom from the abusive dad. But as it turns out, the dad owed money to loan sharks because he was like beating the mother. It's like, where'd you hide the money? Where'd you hide the money? As it turns out, it's because he owes like these loan sharks, right? So after the little boy name is Jun-hee, I think. So after they save the little boy and his mom from the dad, though, and they think everything's okay, the loan sharks show up at the door. And they're like, your husband owes us this money. We're going to get it one way or another. And they take both the mother and the son to take their organs. Because apparently that's a thing. Yeah. So, So then we are introduced to our villains, or at least our demon villains of the season. I'm so excited about this. So you were such a dork. You didn't realize who this guy was, and I really thought you like we had talked about this or whatever. But okay. But
We
anyway,
didn't. I told you
so
what we said. What I said.
um, I was so excited when I heard about the casting for this. Uh, Kang Ki Young is an actor who he's been in a few K dramas that we've covered here on the podcast. He is he played the boss, Attorney Woo's boss in Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which is a podcast that we cover. I mean, a show that we cover. And I saw him in What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, which is another romantic comedy. Like, if you like romantic comedy stuff, you guys, then I can recommend Business Proposal and What's Wrong with Secretary Kim. But like, I'm always going to recommend more action driven drama, K dramas, because that's really what I like. But again, despite not really feeling that genre, I watched both of those and they were good. And so if you like that stuff, yes, I can recommend them. But anyway, he's in that. And here he plays, so he is, I'm guessing, his name is Kwang. Pil Kwang. So he is the missing guy, I think, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
of the swindlers, right? And he's been hiding in China with two other of his cohorts they were already possessed, right?
Yes.
Because they had like powers before
Right.
the counters.
Which
Showed.
I
That's why
hopefully
the
we
counters
kind
were
of get.
there.
Right. So hopefully well, they never really give us a background on like how
Well,
they
they
become
said in the
evil.
first season, it's just like people who are bad,
They can
the
become
more
evil.
they give in to their badness and do things, they become susceptible to these spirits to latch onto. Yeah. So the more bad things they do, it kind of comes out. And the more killing they do, the more like leveling up the spirits do.
So I wonder if we'll get like, because we know him, but the other two I don't know. And like if we'll get like why.
Right. Like, I don't know if they're just like if they were just his
How they
or what, like that's his girlfriend. Yeah. So, and then the other one, so it's three of them. It's Pil Kwang, who's played by Kang Ki Young. And then there is I don't know how to say her name because like it's not a traditional Korean name. It's Kim. If you say the vowels like Korean, it would be Kim Hyeora. It's Hieora. Hyeora. So, but she played Sara in The Glory. She, if you're bad with names, like sometimes I am, she was the bully who was addicted to drugs in The Glory, which we also covered on the podcast. And she was also in Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which I happen to think was the best episode of the entire series. It was called If I Were a Whale.
She was in it?
Yes, she played, I tagged you in it on Facebook. She played a North Korean defector.
Oh, that's right.
Was trying to pay for her crime and still be able to raise her daughter in South Korea. And I think it, again, like the best episode of the whole entire series. And she's in that. And I just really like her. And she has the weirdest name in this. Her name is Gelly Burhard. I don't know why. And I can't find the third guy. I'm going to keep looking. But
it's funny that like all of these people are connected to each other through like 3 shows.
Yeah, listen, we had this joke a few years ago, me and my friend James, our friend James, we would call it the ubiquitous 50 because we were watching a lot of British dramas and we were seeing like the same actors and we were like, there's only like 50 working actors in the UK. I'm starting to feel the same way about South Korea because it's like, oh, he was in this and this and this and this. It's just so much fun. You watch it, it's like, I know that guy. Where do I know him from? But yeah, so the 3 of them are in China, and apparently this is where they've been like hiding because they're wanted, or at least he is in South Korea, and they're in like this really nice big estate, this house, and these counters show up, these Chinese counters to, apprehend them, to summon their souls, and they get killed. The three villains kill all of the counters, and in the process they take their powers, though. So they have the same powers that our counters have, right? Like May can heal, one of them can heal, one can read memories, the other one's really strong. They take all of those powers, and the main guy, Pio Kwong, he can summon territories, it looks like, the way So Moon can, but his territories look
I don't
red.
think he can. Because
what did then when he like lifted the water, because they didn't show us at first, like after they killed all the counters.
He has like telepathy type of stuff, like he can move stuff with his mind. Because the other guy, they were talking about that before they went into the mansion. They were saying, oh, I can't wait to, we need to take a vacation, go to
South Korea and have noodles. Yeah,
they
were
go to their
go
noodle
to South
house.
Korea.
Because we'll get to meet the counter that can summon the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a legend to them. So when by him saying that, I was like, okay, he doesn't have that power. Like nobody's had.
Oh yeah, but that's what I mean. I don't think he can do that because he stole it from one of them. I think he can do it just because now he's that powerful. You know how they level up?
Right.
The more they kill. I just wonder, because he seemed shocked that he was able to do it, right? I don't know. It looks like he's summoning a territory, but I don't know what it is. I should just say that.
Okay.
It's like the first time they showed us the scene, we just saw all the water in the pool shoot up, but they didn't show anything else. And then the next time they showed it, we saw what, like, the scene continues, and you could see like those red and black lights coming up, just the way it looks when So Moon does it, except he has like rainbow colors.
Right.
So I just assume, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, so they kill all of those counters, and now they have their powers. And now that guy is dead, they're like, we're going home to Korea and we're getting our money. So
what guy's dead?
The guy in the news, the person who he swindled with.
He didn't die, though. He didn't die. You mean the one they went to the elevator?
Yeah, listen, there were two guys that were in charge.
Okay.
Right. One is Pio Kwong, and there was another one, and it was on the news that he died. And I can't remember if he killed himself or whatever, but he died. And they were like, that makes sense. He's dead. One of the other guys is missing. Where is the money? So the missing guy was hiding in China. This guy died. I don't know how he died. I think he might have killed himself. And then there was another two guys that they showed their mugshots. One is a guy that was on trial. So I just think that they were working with them and they were caught, but like nobody knows where the money is. That's why they came there and in the elevator, like, where's my money?
Right.
Right.
But they got the money. The guy had it the whole time.
Right. So, but they're like,
now he's in the hospital in a coma, right? Because they're waiting for him to wake up.
Well, he did wake up, but I don't think we've seen him.
Okay. But he erased their memories anyway, so.
Right. So, when they show up at the end of the first episode to rescue the little boy and his mom from the organ traffickers, they're like in some like airline
hangar.
Airplane hangar. And the doors slide open. It's nighttime, and our counters are standing there with their little red sweatsuits on, and Hannah's stretching. She's like, I gotta get ready to fuck some people up.
And of course, the surgeon they show his eyes change, so he's a demon.
Yes. So yeah, they basically like whip these guys' ass, but they had already given the mom like a sedative. And I like that So Moon was like, here, and he puts like music on for him, and he's like, just count to 100, and when you wake up, this will be over, and when you're done, your mom will wake up and this will be over. And then we see like they had those little screens around, like, that they have in hospitals to separate the rooms around him. And so we just see the shadows of all the fighting that's going on outside that this little boy can't see, but we hear the music he's listening to, and you see the shadows like in slow motion. It really reminded me of Face Off.
Yeah, but
remember when it was listening to somewhere
Nicolas Cage's little boy.
Yeah, it did. I love that. So So Moon has been training them, and one of the things that they've been training is try to do the telekinesis to move stuff with their mind.
You
Fucking
can do it.
is not good at it, to the point where he just lifted like a little ant. He was straining, and all he was lifting was a little ant. But at the end of this episode, one of the guys like throws like a knife, and it's gonna
go. I think it was
hit
gonna
the little
kill
boy
the
or
mom
or something. Yeah, and Motok stops it with telekinesis. And he's like, "I did it."
but he can't do it again.
He can't do it again. No. We learned that his in the next episode we learned that his friends are dating. So
Mun's friends, yeah.
You know, that was one of my favorite parts of the first season was their friendship.
Yeah, and it's like the Spider-Man. This reminds me of the whole Spider-Man thing. And
where it's like Peter and
right,
MJ and what's his name?
You have these friends, like, because I think they even at first were wiping their minds, like, you can't know about this stuff. But I like that they just
did he ever wipe their memories in the first season?
I think he might have at the beginning, like early on.
I
don't know if he did or not. But like eventually, no matter what, or maybe he was just kind of keeping it from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely was. Yeah.
But then just bringing him in and everybody's just okay with it. Like, I like that. Like, it's not this top secret thing that nobody else can be involved type of thing.
I think, I can't tell if this is him, but I'm looking through IMDb, and I think from the first season, the young detective that joined, and he ended up helping Motok in the end, and you're like, that's him now.
You don't think
it's the season? He looks no, I think it is the same guy. He just looks completely different. But I'm looking through IMDb, and I think this is him. I got to get the character's name, but it looks like he might have been an idol too. He's only done a few things, but I think he's from the group 18. Oh, no, that was a TV series. Never mind. Yeah, but he's only done a few things. But anyway, yeah, his little friends are dating now. That's cute. So we meet the new counter in the second episode. And the new counter is, his name is Chokbong. I'm just going to call him Chok.
He's a farm boy.
He's a farm boy. He's a cow farmer. Very awkward. Kind of goofy. And we meet him going on this blind date, and it doesn't go well because he's sitting there talking about cow poop.
Did you see the the pictures he used for the, like?
Yes.
He put filters on every page.
Listen, okay, look, y'all are gonna laugh. All right, but we haven't really talked about this because I don't think I did like an update like on the podcast or anything like that. But like after I broke my foot, one of the things that I did in the hopes of, and I was not successful, finding people to like hang out with in Korea to do things with, because I had a wheelchair and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna need people to like push me around and stuff like that, was I went on Tinder, I went on Bumble looking for people to like hang out with. And of course, those apps are mainly for dating and hooking up. So you kind of have to like weed through. And I got a lot of messages that were definitely not, sure, let's go to a movie and just hang out platonically. It was a lot of, I want to suck your titties, like that type of stuff, right? So if you're just wondering, by the way, like if you are a woman who's into men and you live in the United States and you've never been anywhere else, like I have, like how I was, I just want to let you know, men are the same everywhere. Okay? They just are. There's no shame. There's none. And the one thing that I will tell you that I have noticed in South Korea about men there in these dating apps is they use filters unabashedly. They don't care. It'll be them. Like, you know how I have Snapchat pictures with like whiskers and cat ears? They will do that. Little bunny ears, little hearts. They don't care. Straight men looking to fuck women, they don't care. Like, there's a level of like toxic masculinity that has not, and there's toxic masculinity there, but like that level of it just hasn't affected Korean men because they don't give a shit. Like, men here would not do that. Not on a dating app, right? Like, you may do it
I guarantee
as a joke, but you're not putting it on your dating app.
But I'm guarantee some men here would just they would
What do that?
like they wouldn't mind like going after a girl that has a bunch of filters and shit.
Of course not. Of course not. But like the reverse is very rare. Like but no, they don't care. Um, and I mean, just like the most feminine, cutesy things, they will. And another one I saw, and I'm not like, I don't like when people do this. And I had started to do it while I was there and I stopped because I don't like when people do it. I don't think it's right. Because again, like I was just on there fucking around. Like there are people that are really trying to find people. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like dates to fall in love and get married and stuff. So I just didn't feel like it was right for me to like take screenshots of their profiles and like make fun of them and stuff like that. I was hit up by like a couple and this lesbian, and I did share pictures of that because that couple was scary looking. And I did take a screenshot and share it on Facebook. And I was like, you guys, I'm scared. But for the most part, I just didn't do that. So there was stuff that I didn't share because again, I didn't feel it was right. But I will never forget there was one guy, he had several photos of just like his face, like normal photos, but like he had did filters on one and like when you swipe between them, I think I might still have the screenshots on my phone somewhere to show you guys. But like when you swipe between them, you can see like the difference. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he looked one way with the filter, and then when you swipe, you see how he really looks. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, why? Just leave if you just, I don't know, it's weird. So anyway, I bring that up to say the filter thing in Korea is real and they don't care. And yes, when she sees him at the table, the girl swipes through and you see all of his pictures, his face is altered by filters. So she didn't really know what he looked like. And he's
Right.
not like an ugly guy, but they definitely had him like he was wearing a suit that was like 2 sizes too big. His haircut is really weird. And this actor, I was trying to pull it up because hold on, I want to bring it up because he's in like a lot of stuff and I don't know why. That's it. Insu is his name. And he's in a lot of things. I want to mention a few, including some things that we have also covered here on the podcast. Oh, wow. He's in The Good Bad Mother. Only one episode. I want to watch that. So he's in Alchemy of Souls. He's one of the main characters in that.
With Motok.
With Motok, the actor who plays Motok. He is the main kind of zombie villain in All of Us Are Dead, which we did cover on the podcast. Guinam. So those are like the two things that I've seen him in. Oh, that's right. And he was in Strong Girl Do Bong Soon, which I watched on my own. Why did I watch that? Because Moji told me to. And yeah. So anyway, again, another kind of like light romantic comedy. I cannot recommend it. I'm sorry. I can recommend the other two, but Strong Girl Do Bong Soon, I didn't really like, but he's in one episode of that. And I remember, again, I bring it up just to say, like, every time I see this actor, he just looks completely different. And I always have to like double check. I'm like, holy shit, that's him. So anyway, he keeps talking about cow poop on this blind date. And she's like, oh, I'll just talk about poop. I got to go poop. It's going to take me a couple of days. And she runs out of the restaurant.
But he should forgot her phone.
I'm just going to tell you guys something. I would never do this to somebody. I see this in K-dramas a lot, and every time it happens, I feel so bad that I guess it's like a trope, like a thing. I don't know if people really do this. I'm assuming they do, but like if you get set up on a blind date, unless the person is like offensive, like if they stink or if they're just like offensive and like being with them is unpleasant or unsafe, fine. Just be flat out, I'm leaving, or make an excuse. But when it's just like, oh, he's goofy or nerdy, or he's not as attractive as I thought, or he's too skinny or too fat, or like stuff like that, don't do that to people. Just finish the fucking date. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to like finish the date and exchange phone and, you know, and agree to another one, but finish the date. Like, don't fucking do that to people. But anyway, she's a bitch. And she run. And then you knew she was like shitty because of the way she just like ran through the street. Like, who does that? I was in Korea for 2 months. I didn't see anybody do that. Like, people don't jaywalk. I'm sure they do, but I didn't see it. But like her running in like the streets in Korea, I'm like, who? it's like New York City. Like, I would not do this in New York City. It's the same thing in Seoul. It's like you are really putting your life in your hands, jaywalking. It's so stupid. But she does that. And it just so happens she almost get hit by Motok the first time when she leaves the restaurant. And then it's like a 4-lane street, and she tries to cross the next section, and she almost gets hit by a truck. But fucking Jungpong, he comes out.
He kicks her.
But he comes out and he kicks her in order to save her from getting hit by this truck. And when I tell you, I hollered and rewound that shit. Because he didn't even kick her like he clearly kicked her.
He could have pushed her, but instead he kicked her.
Like, he clearly, his intention was to save her, but that's not how he kicked her. He kicked her like he was like, get your fucking ass out of here. It was so violent and funny. But then he gets hit by the truck. He's in a coma. And Motok sees this, like how he sacrificed himself. He's like, this is what a counter should be.
Yeah.
So they offer him the job up in Yoon while he's in his coma. So Minji, the wife of the firefighter, the couple that the pregnant woman got swindled out of her money for some reason. And I feel like her husband told her to leave it alone because
he did.
They were at a doctor's appointment.
Because it was his money. And he was like, it's my money. And
he works
I've gotten over it.
Overtime, right. And she's like, she feels bad. that right. She's like, you work so hard and all this stuff. And I think she blames herself, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because, like,
I don't think
I don't know, but she kind of blamed herself. What'd you say?
I don't think we'll ever find out why.
Oh my God, you're an asshole. So, yeah, because they were at a doctor's appointment, and that's when it came on the news that the guy died and that the other guy was still missing. And that's when she started freaking out. And he was like, girl, relax. Just, you're pregnant now. Don't worry about this. But she didn't listen. So she goes to the courthouse to see the other guy get sentenced. And that's when he gets the probation and she flips out. And they do this thing because they knew that the guy would be accosted by a lot of media and stuff. They had someone who kind of looks like him exit through the main door to like draw all the press and stuff, but it wasn't really him. And she decides to leave. Minji decides to leave through like a different exit to avoid all of that. When the guy, I don't know his name, the bad guy, the guy that just got sentenced, he's in an elevator with 2 guards. He's approached by the 3 villains. This was such a cool reveal when the elevator doors slide open and they're just standing there. That one guy is so fucking creepy. He's like an anime villain. You know what I'm going to talk about, right? Yeah. That weird guy. Like, he has like I don't know what they did with his eyebrows. Did they dye them? Like, are they bleached or something? He's like, he has no eyebrows. But anyway.
Oh, they're like blonde, yeah.
So they corner the guy in the elevator, like, where's my money? Where's my money? And the elevator goes to a certain floor and Minji is there. She doesn't run or anything, and they snatch her ass up. Now, what I was trying to figure out is, did she recognize Pil Kwang? Because if I'm right, and he's the other missing
then she
guy,
would recognize him. I mean, it sounds like it'd be
but
pretty
yeah,
public.
It was weird. Yeah. So they pull her in the elevator, and yeah, and then
it was cool how they even like the reveal of the because he was going down to the garage, the parking garage or whatever it was, and then the elevator started moving on its own back up.
Yes, because
he pulled it up.
Hours, yeah. So while this is going on, her husband is saving this man who is protesting
the verdict.
Yeah, this whole thing. Yeah, because they were swindled out of their money. And he's like, they're protesting it. And one of the guys goes to set himself on fire.
Yep.
One of the protesters. And he stops him and he saves him. So later, when they get the call that Minji's in the hospital and she dies while he's right there, at her funeral, he's like, why did I save someone who didn't want to live? And then someone like Minji, who clearly wanted to live, died, and I couldn't save her. Like, he's really fucked up about it. And I had a theory that he is going to turn bad. And then I saw promotional photos for this season and the new characters, and they have all of the villains, and it's like the villains and the counters, and the villains are kind of lit in this reddish light, and so is he. You see that?
Yeah, I saw.
I feel like that's telling us something.
We'll see.
It's
funny because wasn't the first season the main villain that ended up being, or like their thing had to do with real estate too.
Yeah. There's a lot of like in these K-dramas, and I think it's because of where Korea is as a country and it's like in its lifespan as a country. It had a lot of like economic growth really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It went from, being war torn to hosting the Olympics in like less than 30 years, something like that. 30, 40 years is like insane. And I think what we're seeing like in the storytelling is kind of like the natural, like the growing pains of that, where there is a lot of corruption. You see a lot of like redevelopment. I don't know if you notice a lot of K-dramas, there's like these plot lines about areas being redeveloped.
Right.
And people being displaced and
that
stuff.
Was the first
and I just think that yeah. But that's just like, I feel like that's almost in every K-drama I've watched. There's like a subplot of some kind. We saw it in Woo, we saw it in Flower of Evil, we saw it in Beyond Evil. It's always some sort of like that and politics.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Politics
so anyway,
corrupt.
Mm-hmm. So then for some reason, like I'm trying to remember like why this happened, but like the third villain, whose name I don't have, the guy with the bleach, I'm just gonna call him eyebrows. He takes this man at one of the construction sites for these like housing development, and he's like torturing him. Like he throws him off a building and like he breaks his bones, and then he heals him and throws him again. And he just keeps doing that because that's like his power. He can like heal now. And because he's doing that, it triggers our counters, right?
Yeah.
And they show up and they fight him. And when So-moon gets there, he beats this guy's ass. And as it turns out, Peel Kwang and Gelly are watching the other two villains from a rooftop. And basically, Peel Kwang is just doing reconnaissance, right? He just wants to see how strong they are and what they can do. And they don't step in to help. But now they know what each of their powers are. And the guy later says that they're eyebrows. Later, he's like, they're stronger than the ones we killed in China, especially So-moon.
But the main villain's like, he's loving this shit. He's like, ooh, I'm gonna be powerful. Like,
yeah. He's like, I can't wait to eat them.
I'm gonna take these fucking powers.
Yes. This was really funny when So-moon used his powers to like throw this tire, and it hit the guy ducked, and it hit Motok, and Motok almost fell off the overpass or whatever it was. He did fall off, but he used his kinesis. So-moon saved him, and he like holds him, and he's like, I'm so embarrassed, put me down. And the other two, May and Hana, May is like, act like we're not looking. She's like, act like I'm healing you, just lay back down. So Hana goes into a memory, and I'm trying to remember like whose memory this was. Oh, it's the guy in the hospital, right?
Yeah, because she goes.
He woke up and she knocks him back out, right? When she goes to the hospital, doesn't she knock him back out?
Yes.
Yes, she knocks him back out, and you can close it all the way, and goes into his memory. And this is so disturbing because first of all, she like walks into it, and at first like the faces, they look like pixelated and stretched. Remember? Mm-hmm. And it just looks so cool. Creepy. It was creepy. It was cool. And so she's walking through the elevator, she's seeing what happened, and then she can clearly see their faces, and she sees how, and we get to see, because we didn't get to see it before, Minji was pulled into the elevator, and they killed her, but they made the guy do it.
Yep.
The bad guy who was just sentenced. He used his kinesis to make him stab her, and she even told him that she was pregnant and pleaded for her life, and he did not care.
Nope.
And the guy the whole time was like, please don't do this, please don't do this. And like, he's a piece of shit apparently, but I still felt bad for him because I was like, this is fucking terrible. And then they made him like slit his own throat to make it look like he attacked her and tried to kill himself.
Right.
Yeah. So because she saw what happened, because they didn't know that these people were connected to Minji until that moment.
Right, because the whole thing was that everybody thought that this real estate guy in the elevator killed her.
Had her, yes.
This moment.
So they make sketches, because So-moon can draw, and Hana describes the three villains, and he makes sketches of them, right? And this is right as Pyeonkwang is learning about their powers, like you said, and being like, ooh, I'm about to level up. And so they're at the noodle shop, and they invited the little boy that they had saved from having his organs
I
trafficked.
think he's there, like he's been, because she said he can have unlimited noodles for the rest of his life. And I think we've seen him multiple times at this restaurant since then. But yeah, he's there, and then the school
kids
bus
from the bus,
yep,
right,
show up. So
it's all these innocent kids in the noodle shop, and everybody's all happy and stuff, and motherfucking Pyeonkwang just walks in. And we need to talk about his pants. Did you check out the cut in the back of his pants?
No.
It was fire.
You kept you were saying like you're like, God damn, they're all dressed good.
I mean, the drip, like everybody, like even our counters, like when they weren't wearing the red sweatsuits, like when they were just like in their street clothes, I was like, did they get raises? Like the show budget increased. Like everybody is dressed really, like everyone in Hana's outfits was fire. Motop looked fire. Everybody just looked good when they were outside of their uniforms. But yeah, he just walked up in the noodle shop and sat down. And fucking So-moon looked at him and did like a double take. Because he had just fucking do the sketch with the guy's face.
Anyway, then there's the flip the coin thing, and he stops it midair.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think anything's going to happen because those kids are in there.
Right.
Right. But I'm curious to see what happens. Again, like I don't think they're gonna let even anything happen to those kids, but it's just, yeah. So anyway, that's it. Anyway, sorry, I just saw something funny online. Any predictions before we get out?
Not at all.
So that is it, you guys. We'll be back next week with the next 2 episodes of Uncanny Counter. Again, it is on Netflix. It's a great K-drama. You should check it out. I'm super excited for this season. As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, the show looks really, really good. Like they had a budget increase. It looked good before, but it looks really, really good now. It's just something about it. The action is great. It's funny. And so far, it's a really compelling storyline. My only prediction is I do think that Jusuk is going to go bad, the firefighter. Because there's like all this talk about how like you are susceptible to those spirits when you are, yeah. And it feels like he is dealing with a lot of what So-moon was dealing with in the first season. You know what I mean? Like his anger management and all that stuff. So I don't know. And I mean, you know, he lost his pregnant wife. I get it. I wouldn't hold it against him. So anyway, that is it, you guys. We'll be back next week with more of the Uncanny Counter. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. We'll talk to you next time.